Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about file operations. Take a look. For this program, we're going to talk about file input and output. And one of the things that Python does really, really well is allow you to work with files. Now, what I've done is I've set up our program called file.py, and I have two accompanying text files that we're going to play with to show you the basics. The first one is called myfile.txt, and it literally just has 3 lines of text in it. This is a text file. It has multiple lines, very simple. And myfile2 says it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This is a 2nd line, 3rd line, 4th line. Really, really simple stuff, okay? Because I want you to focus on how we do this and how we manipulate the files with the different modes. One of the things that you need to be very careful of in files is that you open a file, you do what you need to do, and then you close the file and get out of it so that you don't have problems with hanging file pointers where you've opened it but not closed it. And then if your program crashes, it creates a bundle of issues for your operating system, as well as you may have corrupted the file. So file handling takes 2 parameters to open. First, you need the file name, and you need the mode that you're going to open the file. Now, the modes are very simple. It's read, append, write, or create. Now, if you try to open a file with create and the file's already there, it's going to throw an error. Okay? When you open it to write, if it's already there, it's going to wipe out what's in the file and just start writing from the beginning again. If you open it up in append, it's going to put your new content at the end. And if you open it up to read, all you can do is read it. Okay? The second letter of the mode can determine if the file is textual or binary. We're going to deal with textual, which is the default, so I don't need to use a T. But if you want it to be binary, you can open it up, for example, in RB for read binary, or append binary. So it would be AB or WB or XB. Okay? Or it could be RT. But let's go ahead and open one of these files and do a little bit of work so that we can see what's going on. So we're going to open files. So I'm just going to call my file pointer file, and I'm going to say equals open. And again, I want to find a file that exists, right? And again, you should put error checking to make sure that it finds it before you try to execute the reads and things of that nature. But we're not going to go into that right now. So myfile.txt is one of the files that exists. And we're going to open this in, and I'll go ahead and put the RT in there, read text, just so that you can see how that works. Okay? And I'm going to put a comment here. This is open for read access and text mode as well. So now we've created this file pointer called file. Now I'm going to, and by the way, I'm going to put another comment here. Read as text is the default. And let's go ahead and push this out to here. That's going to look a little better. All right, and then we'll come back here. And let's say file2 equals open my file2.txt, and I'm going to leave this part of it off completely. And I'm going to do that to show you that basically if you do not specify file is opened as read and text. Okay? So those are both opening each of the 2 files I've created as read and text. Okay? Now let's just dump the contents so that we can see what's going on in the files. Now, again, for saving time, I'm going to copy in these statements. All right, and what we've done is we are printing file.read, so it's going to dump the entire file to the console, and then I'm going to close the file. Then I'm going to print a separator, and I'm going to do the same thing for file 2. All right, so all I'm doing is printing what I read from the file. Okay, and if I just say file.read, it's going to dump it all. Then I'm going to close that pointer so that I've basically opened it, done what I need, and gotten back out. I'm going to print a separator line and do the same thing for that. All right, so this is how simple it is. I'm going to say Python file.py. And there are the contents of both of my files. Really simple, really fast. All right, so that is how you can read and basically dump the contents of a file to the console. All right, now let's talk about partial reading, where we want to kind of read some of it. All right, so I'm going to call this, let me go back here. Let's put a comment in here. We're going to dump partial read contents. All right, and what we're going to do here is basically we're going to reopen the file. So where's my file 2? Let's copy this, because I want to open that file again. All right, and then once I've got it open, I'm going to say file. Actually, I want to give it, let's give it this again. Control C, Control V. So we've got a little bit of a separator. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically print the first, and I'll explain this here in a second. I'm going to say print file2.read 12. So instead of just saying .read, I'm going to pass in the number 12, and it, because it's in text mode, right, because I use the default, it's going to print the first 12 characters. All right, and then I'm going to close it again because I want to tidy up. So I'm going to just put a text here, closing file to tidy up. Okay, so I'm opening it. This really should come up here because that's not really part of this operation, if I'm being picky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the file, read 12 characters, send them to the console, and then close. All right, so let's try that. So this is going to show me how to do some of it. Now, by the way, this is file 2. Let's see what 12 characters are. 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. So I should get through the B, I believe. All right, if I did this right. Let's see what we get. It was the B. It was the B. Okay, so I can pull in as many characters as I want with those reads. And there's other things you can play with, and that is something that I want you to explore with file reading. So the next thing I want to show you is how to append. All right, so for this one, we're going to append a file. All right, so we're going to follow the same pattern of open and closing. So what I'm going to do here, now let's just type it, file2 equals open my file2.text. Okay, but this time I need to open it in append, and I'll go ahead and specify the T, even though I don't really need it. All right, so file2 is open my file2.text, append text mode. All right, now I'm going to say file2.write. And here's where I can write information into the file. So I'm just going to say, wow, this is cool. Here is a new line of text. Okay, I'm going to write that to the file. And I've put stuff in the file. And by the way, I'm going to put a little comment here that says, note the /n, which I didn't put in because I don't need it. Never mind. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to say, put that in because it's going to write that as a new line of text. And I'm going to say file2 dot close. Okay? So, once again, I'm maintaining my pattern. Open the file, do what I need, close the file. I can't tell you how many students I've seen corrupt their files because they leave it open too long and then they do something, there's a runtime error or something, and it just totally goofs it up. All right? So, open it, do your business, close it. Okay? That's a really important habit to get into, especially early on. All right? So, I've opened it, I've written it, I've closed it, and what we're going to hopefully do is be able to reload this file and see it added. So let's control save. All right, let's check it out. It ends on, in fact, there's a typo there. Let's say this is my file, okay, my file.txt. Now let's do a clear and run it. And the output is the same here because we didn't print anything new to the buffer. But let's go look at file 2 and look, it's already updated. Wow, this is cool. Here's a new line of text. So we have appended that file, and that's pretty cool. All right. So now let's just print out. Let's just go ahead and print this out to the buffer so we can tell each time. All right, because every time I run this, it's going to write this again as it comes through here. So let's go ahead and say file 2, I only need this much of it this time. Control V, and I can close that because we're just going to dump it. So we're going to say dump file 2 contents to prove append worked. All right. So here we're just going to say print, and this will be actually, yeah, let's do that. I like that idea. Let's do some of this again so we can tell the difference between each of them. I like that idea. And then let's say print file 2 dot read. We're not going to specify because we want to see, we're not going to put a limit here because we want to see the whole file. And then file 2 dot close. All right, so now every time we run this, we should see this line added over and over again. So let's go and save it and let's just test it. So we're going to say, let's do a clear and let's try this. Notice it just keeps putting it on the end each time I do that, okay? So now I want to go back and show you what I was debating whether I wanted to show you the first time. What I really need to do here is I need to put a /n because when I do a write, it's not the same thing as a read where it's going to read all those lines, because what you don't see in here is that there is a return, okay? Here, it's just smacking them on because I'm writing it. So when I write it to the file, I need to make sure that I put a /n at the end of my write, or it's going to just keep stringing them along, okay? So I'm going to go into, let me save this. I put the /n in. Now I'm going to go back in here and I'm just going to insert this return, okay? So now that you've seen it kind of smack it, now's a better way to show you. And that's kind of why I was arguing with myself. I think this is a better way to see it. So let's see. Oh, it did it again. That's interesting. Let's run it again. There it is. So I must have, I wonder if I did I not save that? Control, save. Let's see what's going on in here. Open that. There's the N. And it's been doing it correct since. That's kind of weird. I might be seeing a little bit of a caching issue here with the browser. But let's just see. Let's run this again. There we go. Now it's working. I must have some browser caching going. So you'll see that I'm just going to keep adding those lines of text every time I run it. Okay, and it's just going to keep adding it. And because I've got the /n in there, I'm getting new lines of text. All right, and it's just going to get longer and longer the more I do that. All right, so that's kind of cool. But be aware of this /n. And there have been times that I've played with that for quite a bit of time, making sure that you get it right. You can use tabs, you can use comma separators, and create CSV files. There's all kinds of things you need to do, and you need to play with them until you get used to how the writes will put things where they put them. That's why I start off with very simple text files till I get a hang of it. Okay, and even today when I go back, if I've been in C# and I go back into Python, I still end up monkeying around with it a little bit to make sure I get it right. That's part of the process. Very normal. Okay. So the last thing I want to show you is how to wipe out content with write mode. Okay. Because some of you are going to do this and it'll be frustrating. So I'm going to literally call this wiping out content with, I'll spell it right, write mode. All right, so here we go. We've got all that stuff in file 2, right? It's pretty big. So let's say, let me save this so far. We're going to come up here and we're going to say file 2 equals open my file 2.txt, but we're going to open it with W. Okay, that needs to be in quotes. All right, so we're going to open it in write mode. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say file2.write used to be a file in here /n. Okay, let's put a period in there to make it good grammar. All right, and then we're going to say file2.closed, file2.close. And then let's do one of these. And then we're going to say file2. And basically what we're going to do is then we're going to print out the content so you can see what it was. So I'm going to just paste this code in here. Just once, please. And we're going to say printing out the new contents of my file 2.txt. Okay, so let's talk about, right before we run it, let's save it and talk about what we're doing. I'm going to open file 2, which has all of this in it, but I'm going to open it in write mode, which means it's going to wipe everything out. And since looking at a blank file is not very interesting, I'm going to write used to be a file in here with an /n, and you're going to see that that becomes the first line of the file. I'm going to close it, draw a divider, open it, dump it to the screen, and close it. All right, so let's take a look and see what we get. Let's do a clear for sure, and let's run it. And you will notice we got all this normal stuff we're used to, but what we got down here is used to be a file in here. And if I go to my file 2.txt, used to be a file in here. Okay, So be advised, if you open it up in write mode, it's going to write a new file. So think of W as write a new file, because whatever was in there won't be. So you have a choice. You can read, you can write, or you can append. Now, sometimes what that means is you write to a different file and move them back and forth until you get the file that you want. Okay? But you need to be careful, because you can wipe out information that might be needed or useful to you if you don't do this carefully. So your program testing becomes very, very important. But this is an early look at how to do file reading and writing. And it's pretty cool, and it's very powerful in Python. So now you've seen how to open files in the different modes, read from the files, print out what we've seen in the files, and really append the files or completely overwrite the files with information. That should give you a good springboard to start working with the different types of files and file routines that you will find in the language Python. In the next video, we're going to begin to enter the world of Object Python. So I will see you on the other side.